Okay, okay. Good morning to those in the United States, and I think for the rest of us, I think it's good evening or even getting closer to good night. Uh, Although this conference is convened in the United States, our panel is truly transnational, reflects this transnational character of the Mars Project, Horizon Stock Exchange Project, non-Western migration regimes in a global perspective. Thank you for being with us in this virtual space. Uh, we have three excellent presenters whose research sheds, we hope, new light on how migration regimes, social norms, and state practices shape these aspirations, insecurities, and everyday strategies of different migrant groups in the Central Asian region. So we have three presenters. Let me briefly introduce them. We have first Yize Huang, and I will have to, you will have to excuse me if I mispronounce your names. Yize Huang, who is a PhD candidate in Eurasian Studies at Nazarbayev University, who has done within the project, within the Mars project, has completed his secondment at Leiden University recently. And he will discuss emerging forms of Chinese mobility to Central Asia under the Belt and Road Initiative. Then we have Dr. Kristina Sliavaite, associate professor at Vilnius University. She has also completed one part of her secondment in Tashkent in summer, and will be doing and will be staying for another 2 weeks in Tashkent in January. She's going to examine the gendered insecurities, lived experiences, and remigration trajectories of Uzbek migrant women in Russia. And we have Dr. Nazgul Baygabatova, associate professor at Zhetsu University. She's going to explore the bureaucratic landscapes and institutional challenges faced by ethnic repatriates or Kandas navigating the return process. So each presenter will have about 20 minutes for the presentation. I think this is more than enough. And once all three papers have been delivered, we will move on to combined Q&A and discussion session. Please feel free, those in the audience, including the other presenters, feel free to submit your questions via the chat at any point. I will collect them and address them after the final presentation, or you can directly address your questions or your comments online during this session. With that, let us begin. I am now pleased to invite our first speaker, Yize Huang, to present his paper. Yize, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Not too loud? No, the voice not too
Yes.
small. Okay.
All
What
good.
about the PowerPoint? All good? Okay, perfect. Okay, dear professors, colleagues, good evening, good afternoon. It's 9 o'clock in Astana, and thank you for having me on this panel. I'm super glad to share some findings from my current research. And my name is Yize Huang. You pronounce it very correct. And I'm currently a PhD candidate at Nazarbayev University Eurasian Studies program. And the title of my current research is called Escaping Evolution, New Motive of Chinese Migrants to Central Asia and the Belt and Road. Okay, so the Belt and Road initiatives announced in 2013 in Nazarbayev University, where I studied, after 1 decade of promotion, mostly emphasized on mega projects in the hosting countries, major infrastructure projects. And after 10 years in 2023, the top level decision makers in China, in a speech on the 10th anniversary of the BRI announcements, state that they would focus on small and beautiful projects, which increasingly emphasize on localized projects and on soft connectivity rather than hard infrastructure, which they promoted in decade ago. So as you may see the photo on the right, it is one of such project called a Small and Beautiful Project. It is vocational education cooperation between China and Tajikistan, which they cooperate in educational institution called Lubang Gongfang. And China, though it remains a major country of immigrants in the world, with China becoming the world second largest economy, along with its changing demography, it is undergoing a significant transition. The emerging migrants choose those places that were previously considered less than ideal for relocation. Central Asia, for example, a region that has hosted the most Chinese investment under the BRI, is one such destination that has recently grabbed more attention. Escaping evolution is a key motive shaping this trend. Evolution is a relatively new but widely used term in China public discourse right now. In general, it describes an intensively circle of competition that yields diminishing returns, fiercely competitive, but did not ultimately strive for progress. This phenomenon significantly frustrated the well-educated, middle class, and skilled individuals in Chinese society right now. And this is becoming a new motive for immigration in middle class immigration studies in Chinese context. And this paper situated the new Chinese migration to Central Asia within the framework of the aspiration capability model, where escaping rather than chasing or pursuing becomes a major motive for making mobility decision, searching for alternative lifestyle, life pathways by migration abroad, a rejection of the zero-sum logic, and a highly competitive environment in their home country, which is China. And this research aims to explore the following research questions. How escape rather than pursuit becomes the primary motive for migration in contemporary China? And how does BRI facilitate such mobility in its transition from infrastructure-centered to people-centric? The objective of this research is not to measure migration quantitatively, but to map emerging discursive and structural conditions that enable Chinese mobility to Central Asia. By bridging the sociological concept of evolution with migration theory, this study argues that China's domestic transformations are producing new outward mobilities that are less about economic desperation and more about existential and psychological reorientation. The highly competitive domestic environment motivated potential migrants to move outward. The channel is enabled by the BRI projects. And the research design part, because this is an ongoing research which consists part of my dissertation project, doctoral dissertation project, on study migration governance and Chinese migrants in Eurasia under the Belt and Road Initiative. And as you may see from the photo below, this is the fieldwork I conducted in the past year. Because I'm located in Astana right now, so I just followed this Astana Light Metro construction projects, which is hosted by a Chinese state-owned company, also introduced a large number of Chinese labor migrants here. So I conducted my fieldwork and especially interviews within the projects. And for literature review on contemporary Chinese migration studies, which began after the implementation of the reform and open policy in the late 70s. Following the BRI's launch in 2013, new destinations in the global south have gained significance, including Africa, Southeast Asia, as well as Central Asia. These movements are embedded in China's broader process of global interrogation, where mobility itself becomes a form of developmental diplomacy. But the existing scholarly studies mostly most analysis focused on economic and geopolitical logics, analyzing migration behavior from a macro level perspective that corresponds to state strategies and changing trading environments for China, but largely neglect the subjective and affective dimensions and lack of a focus on the individual level decision-making process. And I situate this research into the aspiration capability framework. I believe all the scholars here very familiar with this theoretical lens for understanding migration as a function of both aspiration and capability. Aspiration refers to individuals' imagined life trajectories and values, while capability concerns the material and institutional means to realize them. And as the photo showed, that migration occurs when the aspiration to move is matched the adequate capability. So then let's explore what evolution means in contemporary Chinese context. So this term originally come from an ethnological term describing the stagnation of agricultural intensification, now denotes in the condition of hyper competition without progress in China right now. And from this evolution context, there's also an internet meme, which in China widely spread. It's called runaway, or in Chinese it's called 润学. It is initially a meme, internet meme that many younger generation among them very popular, and this also motivates the younger generation in China want to move abroad. And those who have already moved abroad become a successful migrants. They usually share their experience on choosing potential destination of running, how to deal with the migration regimes, how to make a living and integration with the local society, language studies, and accommodation searching skills. So during my past fieldwork interviews, so I'm going to share why has Central Asia become a new destination for young Chinese migrants. So the major reason is policy facilitation and institutional openness between Central Asia and China, because recently Central Asian countries as well as Trans-Caucasian countries, for example, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, as well as Georgia, they all signed a bilateral visa-free regime with China, 30 days, where these new destinations attract a lot of visitors from China, where later they can make the decision whether they can move to this visa-free country or not. And what profiles are these emerging Chinese migrants to Central Asia? So in the BRI 1.0 version, which most of these migrants strictly adhere to their infrastructure projects, and their entire migratory lives are constrained by their field sets, which they have very limited connection with the local society. But in this BRI 2.0 version, which the Chinese government promote more small and beautiful projects, many more entrepreneurs and startup founders from China went to Central Asia. They start their own business in Kazakhstan, for example. And another group of migrants are international students from China, because the competitive environment in China, especially in higher education resources context, is very fiercely. And Central Asia, especially Kazakhstan, introduced many joint program with European universities, American universities, and this also attract many international students from China. And the last one is circular traders and as well as lifestyle migrants, which consist of a very small part of migrants right now in Central Asia, but they are attracted by the, for example, digital nomad policy, which implemented by Kazakhstan recently. They maybe also consider Kazakhstan as a destination for their work remotely as well. So why this younger generation Chinese migrants would like to move abroad? Because recently the graduate unemployment rate in China in 2022 is around 20%, which is pretty high. And this new generation migration motives are more chasing for aspirational freedom because they are tired of the domestic environment, very highly competitive environment in China. So they just want to move abroad to start a new life. So I also have this part of discussion and reflection part in my draft paper, which is discussing the migration flow between the global South country. So non-Western migration regimes in global perspectives, which is our Mars project. I'm trying to examine the current Chinese migration flow within this framework because right now in China, moving upward is replaced by moving outward. So previously, those Chinese younger generation are trying to moving upward within the country, but when they find the environment for them is very hostile because it's so much competitive, peer pressures, things like that. So they just give up this moving upward in their own country and trying to move it outward to another country to start a new life. So this flow challenged the conventional hierarchy of destinations in migration studies, and the outward mobility motivated not by poverty or political crisis, but by psychological exhausted, the need to escape the competitive stagnation. And from the raw interview data I gathered so far, the appeal of Central Asia lies in its accessibility, which is characterized by geographic proximity, institutional facilitation, and existing Chinese investment, as well as the Chinese community networks, as well, and of course, relative low cost compared with Europe and other traditional sense of migration destination country. So usually this group of people, Chinese citizens, they do not seek permanent residencies or especially citizenship in Central Asia because they are prepared to return home in the end or anytime when it's appropriate. So the mobility decision is often considered as a hedging strategy against the domestic stagnation. So they're seeking new opportunities and startup in the new environment, especially in Central Asian countries. So yeah, this is a very briefly remarks, which I have already emphasized in the previous sharing. And by the end, I would like to thank the PI and the coordinator of the Mars projects. And the visit to Leiden University Asian Center did help me to complete my research. And I meet many faculties in Leiden University who are also working on BRI studies and global China. And the connection with them are very valuable for me and which helped me to continue these studies. And thank you very much. This is the sharing I would like to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yusuf, for that insightful presentation and for opening up the conceptual discussion around this aspiration, involution, and lateral mobilities in the global south, in our case, from China to Kazakhstan. Now we move to our second speaker, Dr. Christina Sliavaite, associate professor at Vilnius University. Christina's, as I mentioned, paper examines the gendered insecurities and constraints and in agency of Uzbek women in Russia. Christina, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Do you see my screen? What slides? Does it work?
Yes, we can see, we can hear well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Sherzod for this opportunity and for inviting me there to discuss my very, very primary thoughts of the fieldwork which just started, as Sherzod already mentioned. Within Mars, I was 2 weeks in Tashkent in Uzbekistan, and now planning for the second part. And also, of course, I did literature research and also strategize my future fieldwork. So I want to discuss my first preliminary findings or some insights from my interviews with Uzbek migrant women in Russia, and how they reflect on the ways in which structural context, I mean primary economy, some ways institution works, and gender-related cultural and social norms shape the migration experiences and remigration plans. My initial idea was that I will study remigration when I will go to Tashkent, but then the fieldwork often happens so in ethnographic, anthropological, or in any qualitative fieldwork that it shapes a bit your focus and the way you deal with it. So the remigration part is in my interviews, but my interviews were conducted with women who are in migration, in labor migration right now. So the pilot fieldwork is conducted and will be conducted in the context of Mars, non-Western migration regime in a global perspective, funded by the European Commission Horizon Europe staff exchange program, which is coordinated by Lund University, and Sherzod Eralev is here as representative of this. And I am located in Vilnius University at the Institute of Asian Studies. Just some statistics to have image, just very basic, that Uzbekistan has higher migration trends, and by the end of 2004, by International Organization for Migration data presented, it was more than 1 million labor migrants, registered labor migrants abroad, and about half of this is constituted by women. And destination countries for migrants from Uzbekistan, as they are provided, is Russian Federation, the majority of migrants, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, and also European countries like Poland, Croatia, Belgium, Slovakia, Turkey, Korea, and Lithuania is also one of the countries where migrants from Uzbekistan come, and it's one of the, since Lithuania is not so attractive country for migration, it becomes more and more, but migrants from Uzbekistan, mainly men, are also quite increasing group in Lithuania now. So I was, in my presentation and in general in the way I deal with data and try to work with it, I focus on gender as key aspect or very important aspect in understanding migration. In my research I try to focus on women, and it's the way women in migration, how they experience migration, how they plan migration, how they plan coming back, and how the social cultural norms that surround any understanding of gender, masculinity, femininity reveals in the interviews, in the ways they tell about the migration as shaping the experiences and plans. And of course, it's an intersectional approach, which is important. Even with my very primary, very few interviews, it's already you can understand that it's not only gender, it's also age, it's also education, many different aspects frame experiences and narratives. And transnationalism, having in mind that it's also reveals in these interviews as in the way my research participants keep connections in their home country, in the country they live now, and how they navigate this. And I didn't, as an anthropology, we go into the fieldwork and try, of course, we read literature, but we come with the very clear theoretical concepts later on. So now I am more in literature study, and I name here just some of the publications that are important, that are important in understanding what I'm dealing with. So first of all, it's my colleagues Sherzod and Orin Boyev, Rustam John, who write about the importance to study non-Western migration, which is also important in this Mars project. But also I very much focus on the studies on gender norms and migration, and looking for the papers and for the publications that focus on Central Asia and on Uzbekistan, and there is quite there are such publications, quite numerous, addressing different kind of aspects. For example, in Kyrgyzstan, bride kidnapping, the way the families were formed, and how it further on shapes migration, trans-migration experiences, and so on, or on Uzbek women migration in Turkey and the ways they deal with patriarchal norms in their home country and in migration. So the questions about the gender norms and migrations and in the countries of Central Asia, I feel that there is quite much research into this. So, of course, I have to think what I'm going to add to these discussions. And hopefully I will be able to add something in relation to this remigration considerations, remigrations plans, and whether and how gender is still there. So I conducted just pilot fieldwork. It were my 2 first weeks in Tashkent this summer. This is me in front of the hotel, which is sometimes told as the symbol of Tashkent by some of the people. And how my fieldwork was shaped, of course, I was thinking about access to the people, having in mind language issues. I do not speak Uzbek language, so but I can speak freely Russian language. So this was important for me in planning my fieldwork and in looking for my research participants. And also having in mind that I am a woman, I thought that it's having such a limited time period, I should focus on women and many thanks to the organization which hosted me, I was able to conduct 4 in-depth interviews, online interviews with women who are from different regions of Uzbekistan, but are labor migrants in the Russian Federation. And this was not the initial plan, but I thought that it worked quite well. And these pilot interviews, they were in-depth, long, about an hour. And I was able to speak in Russian, having in mind that my research participants are more about 10 years long or even longer living and working in the Russian Federation. And of course, there were additional issues, for example, the geopolitical situation, the fact that I'm from the EU, online interviews when you have to gain trust with your research participants. But my subjective kind of feeling that they went all on well. And I've looked now at them as 4 cases, which helped me to generate some ideas for future fieldwork and some insights. So all 4 women are more than 10 years in labor migration in Russia. The age is from 30 to 50. The education is different. There are some of them work in these services, cleaning. Others have higher education and work in better positions in Russian Federation, and they are married and they are in Russia with their husbands. And I will not go case to case, having in mind that going deeply in one case after another can reveal maybe some identity. So I look through this material by kind of analyzing different aspects. So I start from the reasons of immigration, and economic reasons were important for all of them, even in the case when immigration happened with the aim to study later on the further stay in Russian Federation was grounded in the need for funding for economic resources, and the reasons why that were given me were very often provide financial help for family members, for the family of the husband or the family of the own, to help younger sisters or brothers to build, I don't know, to study, to have a proper way of living. Some of them wanted to buy a house in Uzbekistan, so collected money, aimed to collect money for living place in Uzbekistan. Some invested in the place or planned to invest in the place in Russia to pay debts that were also important. Important kind of motive. I would like to quote just a very short quotation from one of the interviews were in Russian. I translated them. When my daughter was 2 years old, I decided to go to Russia with my husband, as he did not earn much, and we had to buy a place to live in Uzbekistan. As we lived with my mother-in-law in a 3-room apartment together with the 8 children, 8 sons, we decided to leave our 2 kids with our parents-in-law. I went to Russia to work in 2011. I was 21, 22 years old. I came to Russia for the first time without proper knowledge of the Russian language. I did not have experiences in other places, as I was taken from the school and given for marriage. So this is one of the cases when a woman is telling how she had to marry quite young without finishing school. It's in one of the regions of Uzbekistan, and later on the decision to leave to Russia to work was based on this need to invest, to have proper way of living, their own kind of living place, and later on they stayed, since due to the need to help the family, the sons, since the husband is told to be the oldest in the family, so they're sending money all these years, and the economic reasons are still there. Then it's if to have this division along gender lines, then the woman reported about the differences in wages, differences in paying for men and for women in labor migration, and this is not for all. In all interviews, but mainly in those interviews where women serve in services, in cleaning, they say that the men are paid more, even also in more in not qualified work, and they refer, like the quotation is, if a migrant man can collect the money he needs in 5 years, then a woman would require 10 years for the same amount. So the emphasis is on the need to work in emigration to save the sum they need for their family. So here again, you have this perspective of gender. Then it's about gendered experiences of everyday racism in Russian Federation. It's in all interviews when my research participants refer to experiences when, due to being recognized from the way they look, from the improper language, they feel they experience verbal harassments, they experience stigmas, and here they also make certain differences, saying that for men it's even more difficult because they can experience physical violence while women mainly experience verbal harassment, and also refer to certain what they call cultural norms of honor, that for men it could be related with the honor that he has to experience in everyday contact, these everyday racism forms. It's just one of the quotations. I used to work as a hairdresser, but I stopped because clients often judge you based on your appearance. If a client sees that your hair and eyebrows are dark and notices that you speak with an accent, they might assume you're not Russian and question the quality of your work. And then in the interviews, there are these gender norms. It's also about this, what you expect for women and men, what kind of behavior, what kind of stereotypes are related with this. And the research participants emphasize this external look, external gaze within Uzbek migrants community when they refer to judgment and scrutinization. In the interviews, the references is to the changing, that things are changing, that the migration is, especially to such countries as Russia, is normalized and it's normal, accepted as normal, like some distinction is made in the previous times in regards to the country of destination. But at the same time, there are these experiences when a woman says that, for example, when she comes alone without a husband because she wants to pay the debts of the husband to Russia, other Uzbek migrants don't look, she thinks that they don't look with respect to her, that they not say hello or so on. And there are different strategies. For example, her son then stops studying and joins her in Moscow. So this is again about gender norms, and other aspects is about gender division. If there are men and women in migration, like gender division of workhouse as related to the women and men, which is also fought over, and this shapes the time you have and the things you do in migration. And then when about remigration, then it's also was important part in my interviews. I wanted to ask about this. I was asking, for example, if the life is, if you feel this everyday racism, if you actually work to send money home, of course you invest in your new house, why not remigrate back to Uzbekistan? And all four research participants, they refer to the connections they keep in Uzbekistan. It's very clear that the investments also go in Uzbekistan, that maybe they will return, some go to Russia. So this is kind of division thinking about where we will be, how future will be. But at the same time, the kids go for their grandparents during the summers. They join Uzbek schools or other educational institutions during the summers because the women want them to learn the language. And it's kind of feeling or emphasizing on importance to feel culturally connected because the life in Uzbek seems closer. And economic motivations are still there that are keeping in emigration. And at the same time, when they think about remigration, here we have the intersection of gender and age. And just a quotation I see, I also almost out of time, a quotation. When a man works in Russia, he has a wife in Uzbekistan who looks after him. She waits for him. The women who are in migration are either divorced, single, or in some form of partnership. When they return to Uzbekistan, they find that they are no longer needed by anyone. The work of older women is also undervalued and not desired. So this feeling that even investing, even sending this money and investments home, that there is this kind of fear that gender also makes differences in the way they feel they're welcomed, or at least one of them feel welcomed, and what challenges they will have back home as women, as women of, from my side, still young, from their side, in older age. So, of course, it's just very primary. You cannot generalize or say anything broad about this. It has to be kind of new data has to be added, fieldwork data, literature review, looking for other sources. But even in these interviews, I think that the gender aspects is felt by women. It's recognized, is pointed, like that they feel that gender makes difference in their experiences, but at the same time it's also about intersectionality, which is important. And I also don't want to show my research participant as kind of even it's clear they talk of at multiple vulnerabilities in outside in migration, but they are demonstrate clear agency in economic sphere, agency negotiating with the stereotypes, or if they are in challenging situation. And for future research, what I am doing now, since I'm coming back in January, I'm already trying to contact some migrants from Uzbekistan in Lithuania and ask for possible contacts of women in who had experience of migration and who are back to Uzbekistan or maybe in other countries, but non-Western countries, so that the next 2 weeks could be more intense. And also some expert interviews. I will plan to approach organizations that unite women or work for women. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christina, for that rich and thought-provoking presentation on gender vulnerabilities and transnational family strategies. Now, our third and final presenter is Dr. Nazgul Baygabatova from Jitsu University. She's going to study on, she's going to present her paper on bureaucratic and institutional challenges faced by ethnic Kazakh repatriates, Kandastar. Nazgul, the floor is yours. I understand I will share your presentation. You just tell me when I need to change slides. Just a second. I think I will have to share. Now, can you see Nazgul's PowerPoint on your screens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sherzod. Thank you for opportunity to participate in this conference. I would like to present my paper between policy and practice, bureaucratic challenge of repatriation in Kazakhstan. My talk today is about how Kazakhstan's repatriation policy works in everyday life, how it looks not only in official documents, but in the daily experience of ethnic Kazakh or Kandas who return from abroad to their historical homeland. Next, since independence 1991, the Kazakh government has presented repatriation as national priority. It is often described as moral duty to bring back ethnic Kazakh from China, Mongolia, Uzbekistan, Russia, and other countries. In official discourse, this policy is part of nation building. It is supposed to strengthen Kazakh identity and help solve demographic issues. However, in reality, between policy and practice, there is a big gap. What looks simple on paper often becomes complicated, slow, and confusing when people actually try to go through the process. Next, the main aim of my research is to understand how bureaucracy shapes this experience. In other words, how do everyday administrative rules, forms, and interaction affect the way Kandas return, settle, and integrate? My research questions how do bureaucratic practice influence the real implementation of repatriation policy at the local level? What kinds of legal, informational, and language barriers do returnees face? How do these difficulties affect their adaptation and integration into Kazakhstani society? This presentation is based on field research I conducted in the Jitsu region during 2023-2022. I interviewed Kandas families, local administrators, and migration officers, and also analyzed legal documents, government programs, and media materials. Why bureaucracy matter? Next slide, please. In Kazakhstan, repatriation is managed by several government bodies. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, local migration offices, and regional administrations, or akimats, in Kazakh. The process includes many steps, applying for temporary residence, then permanent residence, and finally citizenship. And also the law formally guarantees the right of ethnic Kazakh to return. In practice, the procedures are very bureaucratic. Applicants must collect a long list of documents, for example, certificates of kinship, of ethnic origin, marital status, income, residence, and so on, many of which are difficult to obtain in their home countries. Many interviews describe the process as a test of patience. One man from Mongolia told me, I come to my homeland, but I spend more time in offices than with my family. And many repatriant calls Kazakhstan is Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan translate from Kazakh paper. It's meant Kazakhstan is country of papers and bureaucracy. This situation shows that bureaucracy in Kazakhstan is not just about order and control. It is also a social system where decisions are often flexible, unpredictable, and sometimes arbitrary. Next slide. One of the main problems is the instability of migration laws. The rules, forms, and categories change frequently. For example, the early term oralman was replaced by khandas. Regional quotas were introduced, then modified. As one migration officer told me, every year the requirements change. Sometimes even we don't know the newest rules. Because of this, local officials often have to interpret the law themselves. In some districts, the same case may be accepted, while in others it is rejected. The result is an uneven and sometimes unfair system. This is what scholars like Michael Lipsky call street-level bureaucracy, when the actual implementation of policy depends on the everyday decisions on lower-level officials. So, while the state officially welcomes returns, in reality, it controls the process through paperwork, delays, and unclear procedures. So, next slide, please. Another challenge is lack of information. Many khandas who come from rural areas of Mongolia or China don't know how Kazakh's bureaucratic system works. They often don't understand where to go, what to submit, or how to use online platforms. Digitalization, which the government promotes as a thing progress, sometimes creates new inequalities. For people without digital literacy or internet access, it becomes ever harder to get information or submit documents. Language is another big issue. Most khandas speak Kazakh only very well, but many officials communicate in Russian. Official forms are often in bureaucratic Russian or Kazakh language that even local citizens find difficult. So, despite being ethnic Kazakh, some returns still feel like outsiders in bureaucratic labyrinth. One woman from China told, I can't speak Kazakh, but when I go to the office, everyone answers in Russia. I don't understand, and they get impatient. Such experience make people feel excluded and dependent on others for help. This situation also leads to the rise in informal intermediaries, people who, for a small fee, help prepare documents or speed up applications. So, adaptation and integration. Next slide. Once returns finally get legal status or citizenship, their challenges are not over. Bureaucracy continues to shape everyday life. For example, when they try to register their address, apply for social assistance, enroll their children in school, or get a job, and other. In many cases, khandas rely on informal support networks, relatives, neighbors, or local community members to solve these problems. These social connections are essential because the state does not provide enough practical help. In my interviews, several people said that without friends or relatives in Kazakhstan, they would not have been able to complete the process at all. However, this reliance on informal networks also proceeded inequality. Have to family connection, for instance, khandas from China are much more vulnerable. Moreover, the state often relocates tourists to rural or economically weak region, which makes adaptation harder. So some families later move again to cities on their own, searching for jobs and better education for their children. There are also cultural and social barriers. While repatriation is celebrated in official discourse, in daily life, Khandas sometimes face stigma or paternalistic attitudes from local residents. The very term Khandas can act as a label that reminds them they are still different. So even after gaining citizenship, many still feel that they are not yet fully included. So next slide. During my research, I also found that bureaucratic interaction is not only about rules, but also about moral expectation. Many returns mentioned that to get things done faster, they were advised to bring small gifts to official tea, chocolates, and symbolic payment. This practice is often justified as thank you, but it also shows how informal norms and personal relationship still structure access to state service. This is what anthropologist Telitynova calls the moral economy of post-Soviet bureaucracy, where legality and morality mix. For Khandas navigating, this system requires not only documents, but also social skills and cultural understanding. Such practice demonstrates that repatriation Kazakhstan is not only a legal status, but also continuous process of recognition through documents, interaction, and negotiations. To sum up, Kazakhstan repatriation policy represents a very interesting paradox. On one hand, it is a symbolic project. It celebrated national unity and the idea of returning historical home. On the other hand, it is a bureaucratic project full of rules, documents, and procedures that often make returns feel like outsiders. My findings show that bureaucracy is not neutral. It actually shapes who is included and who is left out, who receives state support and who doesn't. The repatriation process reveals how post-Soviet governance works in everyday life through paperwork, uncertainty, and a combination of formal and informal practices. In conclusion, I argue, next slide, argue that successful integration of Khandas in Kazakhstani society depends not only on official policies, but also on how these policies interpreted in and practiced locally in district offices through personal networks and in the daily interactions between official and citizens. By looking at repatriation from below, we can better understand how the state operates, how belonging is negotiated, and how bureaucracy becomes part of people's lived experience. So, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Nazgul, for this very interesting discussion on Kazakh repatriates. And now I think we will open the floor for questions and answers. I think we are very much on time, so 20 minutes for each, I mean, more or less. And now we will have around 45 minutes to comment, to discuss, and then ask questions from to each other. If Christina, do you have a question or?
Yes, I have questions, but I can ask later. But I have questions. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Sure. Yes. I'll definitely give a floor to you. And also, if you, I mean, one way of asking questions is, I mean, you can directly ask, but if you feel uncomfortable, you can just write in the chat, and then we can read it out, and then also and this and go on in such manner. I would like to first say a couple of words maybe and then ask questions to each one of you. Yeze Huang, I think, yeah, your presentation, your research highlights how contemporary Chinese migration to Central Asia is shaped by psychological and social exhaustion. The term, I mean, which is new to me, involution, rather than economic deprivation. It's a shift from classic push-pull models toward an emotional and existential logic of mobility. I think the idea of escaping involution offers a new way to understand why young, educated Chinese move to places once considered peripheral or less developed. You also show how the BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, unintentionally becomes a mobility infrastructure. Yes, other scholars, Lindquist and Xi and others have termed that increase these capabilities. The visa liberalization, you've mentioned cross-border logistics, new business openings, which all allow latent desires for escape to become actionable. Now, this creates a form of lateral mobility within the global south that challenges the conventional hierarchies of these desirable destinations. Now, I just have a couple of questions. Yeah, just two questions maybe. Yeah, one is how this maybe my question are more theoretical probably. Yeah, how this bringing this emotional fatigue and this escape involution into migration theory enrich or you think complicate the model advanced by the Haas, the aspirations capability model. And I would also ask if you see in this involution migration as a China-specific phenomenon, or could it help explain emerging forms of mobility from other middle-income countries who are probably experiencing these similar hyper-competitive environments? Yes, Christina, your research it powerfully shows how Uzbek women in Russia occupy a double vulnerability. As you've mentioned, I have also a bit briefly studied this topic, and I find it very interesting. This vulnerability, the double vulnerability, they confront this labor exploitation and racialized discrimination, but also they carry the weight of these gendered expectations from home, huh? And this is quite interesting. Their narratives reveal how moral judgments, both from local Russians and from their own compatriots, shape their everyday lives in ways that men do not experience, male migrants usually do not experience. At the same time, your interviews, to me, I mean, they highlight the complex ways women exercise agency. They make strategic remigration decisions, negotiate transnational childcare, and navigate the balance between earning income and maintaining respectability. I think this helps us understand how gender norms are not static, but also renegotiated through migration. With this in mind, especially the last point, I would like to ask if you see women reshaping these gender norms through migration, or do these patriarchal expectations remain equally strong across borders? Yeah, and also probably among the different forms of insecurity, economic, social, you've mentioned moral, physical. I mean, I know. I mean, it's just for and you are looking forward to continuing to interviewing more women. But I mean, in among these, which these forms of security women emphasize most strongly, and how do these insecurities shape their decisions to maybe to live or stay or to return? Yes, and Nazgul, thank you for your presentation. You make it clear. I know. I mean, to those who don't know, Nazgul has recently Nazgul, together with our other colleagues, has we are all participating in an edited volume where she has submitted this paper on ethnic repatriates. It makes clear that this repatriation is not simply a symbolic return home, but it's a deeply bureaucratic process where documentation, language issues, discretion of officials or street level bureaucrats, as you've mentioned, they determine the actual pathways to belonging. This exposes a sharp gap between the state's moral narrative of welcoming ethnic Kazakhs, and on the other hand, we have these everyday realities of faced by these people from Mongolia, Kazakhstan, China, or Uzbekistan. You also show how uneven interpretations of regulations, linguistic mismatches, and dependence on informal networks create a system where success depends not on ethnicity alone, but on one's ability to navigate this system, this highly fragmented governance system. This offers, I think, important insights into how post-Soviet states govern mobility through paperwork and institutional ambiguity. I would like to ask maybe which parts of this repatriation and naturalization process create the greatest sense of exclusion or frustration among the Kandas people? And I know, I mean, it's not your, I mean, you wouldn't have to, but I wonder if you could bring in some more parallels from the same repatriation policies. I mean, maybe even within the post-Soviet states. I think from in the case of Russia, or in case of Armenia, for example. Yes. So I think why don't we just, I mean, make one round of this responses, and then we will go for another round of questions. Iza, do you want to start first?
Yeah, no problem. I would like to respond to your two questions. The first one, if I noted correctly, is how this emotional factor evolution situated in this migration theories framework, the aspiration capability framework on understanding migration behavior. Actually, during my visiting in Leiden University, my host is Dr. Nader, she is a student of Professor Hein de Haas, and actually we have a short talk about this framework, who is introduced by her mentor, by her supervisor. So I would like to say this escaping concept is situated in this aspirational factors, because right now, China have already become the second largest economy in the world. The enriched middle class Chinese migrants have already got the capability to travel. They can afford the air tickets. They can find like pretty good accommodation, for example, in Astana, and as well as other Central Asian countries. For example, during my field research as well as interview, I know that in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent, there's a huge Chinese businessman flooding into Tashkent, as well as they have been business around the Fergana Valley. That these people are trying to seek new opportunities and escaping the fiercely competitive environment in China. They are trying to go to Central Asia and start their new business with less competitive. So I believe these new motives are more aspirational motives trying to escape the domestic environment in China. And yeah, so I'm trying to bridging these aspirational motives with this framework, by adding this unique Chinese case. And this question also connect to your second question: is this a specific Chinese migration case? I would like to say, if we do comparative studies with South Korea, not Japan, but only South Korea, is pretty similar cases, because as we all know that South Korean also have a huge migration community in Central Asia, not only connect with ethnic Korean who have stayed in Central Asia for a long time, but they conducted business in Tashkent very successfully. South Korea is also a small country with a huge population, very competitive society. So they trying to go abroad, go global to find opportunities, but not for Japan. If we compare with Japan, the outflow migration of Japanese is much less than South Korea and Chinese. So I'd like to say, like, the similar case is South Korea, but China, since the country size and population size is much bigger, which is very much obviously that they are trying to escape the evolution within the country, as well as the presentation we just finished about the Kandas, that the younger generation who are ethnic Kazakh move to Kazakhstan, and they usually would like to return China to pursue higher education. Sometimes we have such case, because when they got a passport of Kazakhstan, become a Kazakhstan citizenship, they have like less college entry score than the local students. So it kind of privilege for this migrated younger generation people to avoid such competitive environment within China. So this is a little bit I would like to add here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting. Speaking of Chinese migrants in Tashkent, I'm currently based in Tashkent, and just in my neighborhood, I mean, just next to my parents' house is a group of Chinese people renting this house, and they seem to be quite successful.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
they're conducting all type of business in Tashkent right now.
yes, I was amazed by their versatility. Let's put it this way. I mean, doing different types of, businesses. Yeah, Christina, your turn.
Thank you very much for so good emphasis on how you summarize the things and the questions. And I would be very thankful. You mentioned that you studied this double vulnerability of women's kind of perspectives. If you wrote something, published something, maybe you can share. I found the publications, but I am not sure if everything what I found what is written by you. And my answers would be to the first question: if I see women are shaping these gender norms through migration, I from 4 interviews, I do not have clear answer. I can say I can just discuss that in some cases, I would say that these gender norms are reapplied or enacted in some situations when women are faced, I don't know what they feel, that they are looked condemned with disrespect because they are alone in Russia. This is, for example, the case when the son came and joined the woman in labor migration, and then she said that the man who didn't say hello to her before because she's alone, he started to answer with hello as well. So it could she responded to these expectations of certain norms and behavior and so on. But on the other hand, women are saying how actually, I was asking about, for example, job division at the home when both are in migration, and they were saying it's 4 interviews, but that they are dividing on equal parts. That it's not the case that she kind of comes and has to prepare for the husband when they are all working from the morning till the evening. But they refer, for example, to other cases with the criticism when a woman takes this double burden in the work and at home, and kind of doesn't oppose these gender norms. And at the same time, when they talk about these destination countries, they are, we discussed a bit, does it make difference which country you choose to go? And it seems, and I also found research on this, that before, if you go to South Korea or Turkey, it could put some negative mark when you return, like that there was some kind of stigma. And my interviewees also were saying that people were looking with certain condemnation because they thought that women are involved in not proper work there. But they claim that now that things changed, and that people back in Uzbekistan understood that there is nothing to condemn for. So you can find changes, and at the same time the replication or kind of acknowledgement of the norms, and making decisions to adapt to the situation, to meet the expectation of the community. And regarding returning back home, re-emigrate, and what are the biggest kind of fears, if I understood correctly the question, then I would say that most of them refer to economic issues, that they are afraid they're afraid if they will be able to live on the money they earn back in Uzbekistan. There are different plans to open the shop or other things, or the kindergarten. But for example, they refer to such things that it's almost quotation, that if I work half an hour as a cleaning lady before my job in Moscow, I earn the same sum for this half an hour as I would earn for the whole day back in Uzbekistan, and this makes difference. And also, I would say that at least all of them had the idea that they have to support their parents and their younger sisters and brothers and their own kids, and this is kind of economic reasons which are related not only to them as well, but to their family obligations, which I understand also are socioculturally shaped. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. When I think I understand, Nazgul, you were kicked out of Zoom for a minute when I was posing my questions. I think I will just repeat my questions to Nazgul. Would that be okay? Nazgul, can
Yes, yeah, I have a problem with internet. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. I was just maybe I will just ask you if you have if you have studied, can you see some parallels or problems or challenges in the same repatriation policies, for example, in Russia or Armenia? I mean, in this post-Soviet space, I mean, we are not going forward, going beyond that. I mean, within this similar space that we have lived under this Soviet rule for 70 rules. I mean, if you see any parallels between the problems the Kandas are feeling with regard to, for example, socio-economic in Russia or Armenian repatriates.
Unfortunately, at this moment, I don't special research this parallel, but maybe in future I research this. But program Russia, соотечественники, I think have a same problem in Kazakhstan, bureaucratic problem, because maybe this is heritage and Soviet bureaucracy, and maybe I thank you for your questions. In future, I research this similar problems, repatriation policies, other countries.
Well, you don't have to, but I was just wondering if there are any. Thank you very much to all three speakers. We will go for another round of questions and comments or any other points. I think Christina had raised her hand first. And we will, if there are any other questions, please feel free to raise your hands virtually, or you can write your questions in the chat. Christina, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My questions are very simple, very empirical, because I enjoyed very much both presentations by Ize and Nazgul, and I have empirical questions just out of curiosity for both of you. For Ize, I found very interesting this conceptualization, and I was thinking, maybe, of course, you didn't do the research, but is the migration from Central Asia to China, which is also maybe has the same, I don't know, motivations of is it possible that the motivations are more or less similar, because you said that the countries are seen as on different level, different economic kind of situation and so on. So it's about reverse kind of migration. And for Nazgul, I also had only very simple question. For me, this was very interesting, this gift-giving practices in post-Soviet spaces. And there is some research in Lithuania about how immigrants, when they come back, they bring these social remittances. They learn about that you shouldn't give the gifts for bureaucrats at the state institutions and so on. And when they come, they change, they protest, they do not behave in the same way, and then the things change. So in your research, did you have any ethnographic cases when your people said, no, we are not using this instrument, informal instrument in applying for citizenship order? So just empirical. Thank you very much. It was very interesting for me.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
If there are not any more questions, yes, Gize, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for the remarks and question for my research. And in terms of migration to China, and especially migrants from Central Asian countries. So first of all, China and its immigration policy is super strict. It is almost impossible for foreigners to get permanent residencies in China. They can only get maximum 5 years visa, and every 5 years they have to renew it. And China is remain a very behind in international migration governance. Although they are trying to open the border right now, but only 30 days visa-free travel, that's it. For longer permanent residents, it is almost impossible right now, at least right now. But the government have already aware that they want to attract international talents, as well as China is facing a transition in demographic behaviors right now, very low fertility rate, and in the future, China mainland will, like other countries in Eastern Asia, for example, South Korea and Japan, have to rely on introducing foreign laborers to China. But now the policy, the law haven't changed so far. And for my observation in Central Asian countries, Chinese language learning go to China and become an international student is becoming very popular right now. In China, there's a test called HSK. It's pretty much like IELTS and TOEFL. It's a Chinese language test that if you want to apply Chinese university, you have to learn and pass this exam. So in Astana, as well as in Tashkent, there's a lot of personal training colleges, schools that teach local students to learn in Chinese. And yeah, so I see many younger generation people in Central Asia seeking China as a new destination to start their new life, study. And yeah, thank you.
Yes, Nazgul, please.
Thank you very much, Christine. During my research based ethnographic data, yeah, I also found bureaucracy interaction is not only about rules, yeah, and as I can speak about moral expectation and they will advise to bring small and symbolical payment. These practices often, thank you, yeah. I think post-Soviet area, post-Soviet bureaucracy system. And for Khandas, this system requires not only document but also social skills, communicated skills, yeah, and new community, so and cultural understanding, new community, yeah, into society.
Thank you very much, Nazgul. I think we have a question from Gildas. Yes, please unmute yourself and you can introduce yourself also, please.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much for really fascinating presentations. I really enjoyed learning about your work. And my question, maybe two questions. One is just I was wondering if you could share the title of the edited book that is going to come out that you mentioned, because I look forward to reading and learning more about some of the works that was discussed today. And my question is to Dr. Huang about in the discussion, you mentioned that for Kazakhstan and other Central Asian countries, the Chinese migration presents both opportunities and ambivalence. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on this a little bit more. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I am a postdoc at the University of Minnesota, so I'm joining from Minneapolis today. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I will answer the question first. It's I have just copy pasted the title of the edited volume that is coming out. Myself and Crystal Ennis from Leiden University, which Yize was mentioning, where Yize had his secondment. We are editors of this volume. And we have several cases, case studies from China and the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone, from Indonesia, from Kazakhstan, as that's Nazgul's chapter, from India, from Lithuania, but that's not Christina's paper, but another colleague's paper, and also West Africa. It's coming out in hopefully in next year. We are going to submit the manuscript in hopefully in December.
Thank you. Look forward to reading it.
Yeze?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I believe you are also an alumni of Nazarbayev University, if I'm not mistaken. You have
Yes.
studied there, right? Because I remember I saw your name somewhere like previously. Yeah.
Yes, I am from Kazakhstan. I graduate
okay.
of Nazarbayev University.
Yeah, in terms of opportunities, you may know in Astana and in Almaty, there's much more like increasingly Chinese factors right now. Chinese cars, Chinese restaurant, and all this Chinese e-commerce platform, for example, Alibaba, Pinduoduo, or other logistic companies who like daily transporting Chinese commodities to Kazakhstan, and people can even like place an order in Chinese site, and the order will ship from China to Kazakhstan at, like within 7 days, which I think this is an like so-called everyday BRI, that people can feel the Chinese bring some new opportunities to this country. But in terms of ambivalence, you know, the long existing myths as well as stereotype on this eastern neighbor. For example, maybe open the border of Kazakhstan will bring large influx of Chinese migrants. There's also concerns in Uzbekistan as well, especially in Fergana Valley, that what I've heard, too many like Chinese enterprises and companies flood into this region, which of course the local people may have concerns, especially all these PRI projects, they are very isolated from the society. All these Chinese people, they just work within their field site, very rarely connect with the local people. First of all, because they lack of the local language proficiency, and the second reason is they really just want to earn money in the host country and then back to China ultimately. So I believe this is one of the main source of ambivalence. And in state level, of course, Kazakhstan don't want to like dependent on China too much, because this country is trying to conduct multi-vector diplomacy, that trying to doing business with Russia, with China, with EU, as well as recently signed the agreement with the US on core key minerals. So I believe the ambivalence is bring from afraid of over dependency from China, from Beijing. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may ask a follow-up question on this, or Gildas, do you have a follow-up question? No. Okay. If I may ask, I mean, this about this interaction with local population of Chinese people, I think we should ask this question. You mentioned there is not much. They are very much isolated, but I believe there are still some kind of interactions. I mean, they buy something, or they rent a place, they do some kind of business. Still, they will have to deal with somehow with local Kazakhstani society. And if there are, I mean, what are these kind of interactions, and how, if you could also elaborate on the perceptions of local people. I mean, is it curiosity, suspicion, or pragmatism, or I mean, combination of all of them? So how I mean, how do Kazakh society, and if you have also studied Uzbek society, are reacting to Chinese presence and migration? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those labor migrants who work in those mega projects, infrastructure working projects. They have a very strict disciplinary regulation within the country because they are expats. Usually they have to respond to local concerns collectively. They usually have external affair, how to say that, administrator to deal with all this, for example, negative news or issues with the local society. And they usually participate, for example, donating ambulance cars as well as medical devices to the local hospital. And they usually try to advocate they are doing something good with the local society as a media media material to support. They have a very smooth and good relation, positive relation with the local society. And for the individual entrepreneurs, yeah, they have more connection with the local society, but mostly within the Chinese network communities. For example, there's previously migrate to Kazakhstan as a category of Kanas, as our professor previously mentioned, because they have the Chinese proficiencies. It can help them to deal with all this migration regime, paperwork, all of this registration things. So this is how they connect, how they communicate with the local society from my own observations.
Thank you. I think Christina raised her hand.
Yeah, but it's just also just subsequent comment or question. I was just thinking when I was listening to Yize, I was thinking that Chinese migration from China was also one of the topic of this I would call participant observation. Whenever I took taxi in Tashkent, I always talked with taxi drivers about migration, about many things. And I realized that migration from China is one of the topics there because I didn't know about it before, and just remembering what they were saying. So, for example, some taxists were saying, oh, it's good, money are coming, migration is always good. But there were some other opinions and they were very interesting. For example, one taxi driver said, never go into contact with migrants from China. They eat whatever they eat, very different things. It's dangerous and so on. So you can even it seems that it's important for local people because they just turn out during the drive. And Sherzad also mentioned about neighbors.
Do you want to react to that, Yize, or?
No, it was just
observation.
Just the thought in my head.
Because I stayed in Central Asia since 2022. Before that, I stayed in Russia. I mean, the entire CIS states share some very similar myths on Chinese migrants, which, I mean, the new generations, especially those younger generation who started in this region, they are changing all these profiles, which those stereotypes on the Chinese migrants previously, and as well as right now TikToks, Instagram, all this social platform showing what is happening in China. So it may change the general perspective on Chinese, China as well as Chinese.
And I think Uzbekistan is a relatively latecomer in this discussion of Chinese people, because I mean it's comparatively, relatively quite a recent phenomenon that we have a sudden spike in the number of Chinese people in the country. I mean, unlike Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, I don't know much about Turkmenistan and if there are any, but I mean, among the four countries, Uzbekistan is latecomer, and people are. I remember discussions in Kazakh society like 10 years ago, even before in Kyrgyzstan also, this discussion of Chinese migration. Now it's a very new thing at least for Uzbekistan. if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Okay. If there are no more questions or comments, I think this is where we end our session. I thank you very much. I mean, despite this late hour, it's almost 11 p.m. in Central Asia, and I think it's also 9 p.m. in Lithuania, and we again on behalf of the project non-representative, on behalf of the team, to thank you and the participation.
I think there is problem with internet, right?
Okay.
Now it's okay.
I think it was my I think it was connection. It was the issue with my internet. Yes, I would. I will just repeat if you haven't heard my point about. I thank all the presenters for their participation and also the audience for their participation on behalf of the Mars project, European Commission funded project on non-Western migration regimes. Thank you very much, and I wish you best of luck.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so bye.
Bye.